Alright, hello, welcome again. This will be the New York pre-market session stream, and let's see what we will get. Alright, so let's clean up the chart a little bit. Let's do a little bit spring cleaning here and make it pristine. So by the way, price did reach to and through the daily old low. In the meantime, it purged it 1, 2, 3 times lower and retraced back, attacking the minor buy sell liquidity here with that inefficiency, and now we are basically consolidation. So let me remove all of this because I want to have clean perspective here, and I'll go through the process. Alright, so this is old low, old daily low. That we've taken. This is the current new week opening up low and new week opening up high current. These are the specific quadrants of the new week opening up, and I want to switch to the RTH chart, and I want to annotate the closing or the settlement price from yesterday, and that's right here, and let's use this color. So this is alright. And at 8 o'clock we can see that we are far beneath that level, meaning that if we open anywhere close to that where we are right now, we will see a very large discount opening range gap of over 400 handles, and a large gap of this size, in my opinion, would warrant a likely continuation to the downside. So this is where I want to include what do we have on the downside actually. So we have this old daily low, and we have this final boss sell side. So on the downside, all of these levels here are or will be magnets, and they will act as the draw on liquidity on the downside. On the daily chart, this is how it looks like. So this is the all daily low sell side, this is respective all daily low here, This one we already have taken. Right, some bug. Right, it should be working now. Nonetheless, these are the levels for now. Do I want something from the daily chart here? I think that's enough. Alright, looks like I do suffer some internet connection issues, which is annoying, obviously. But I hope it will get better. Alright, hopefully it will work. Ay. Sabotage. So as it is right now, I'm willing to watch and see and study whether we will see any willingness for the price to want to kind of close or make this potential opening range gap smaller, or do we stay like heavy like this? I mean, after all, we moved a lot already. We've taken all the sales and liquidity here already, and it's still ahead of the 930 opening price. So I personally believe that we may see some quiet price action in here, some smaller ranges, which I will delve into very soon, but nonetheless trying to map the idea what is or what will be potentially likely. I still think the old low sell set here is the primary draw and direction and higher time frame kind of magnet. So keep that in mind. Alright, so currently we are kind of like stuck in between two key levels. We have this old daily low and the new week opening up low for the current week, and we are basically dead equilibrium, dead 50% of that two key levels of that range. And because of that, it feels kind of, if it feels kind of consolidated, it feels kind of give me some time, especially after this large of a movement that we saw already. So I don't I don't know specifically right now what it wants to do in terms of the narrative, but I'll guess I'll give it some time and I'll try to figure that out. Nonetheless, my primary attention is still potentially lower. By the way, note these lows here and look how perfect they are. Perfect relative equal lows, super smooth. So this is probably the first thing that jumps at me right away. So let's see if we can maybe manage something towards this. There is this busy with a sell side liquidity pool linked to it. So preferably if we just smash right through it, it could maybe act as bearish inversion for value gap. That's something that I'm watching right now. All right, so initial reaction out of this inefficiency and sell side being taken, no inversion as it is, yes, as it did so far. So I'm really watching if it will fail here. Otherwise, this small little inefficiency right there, that's what I'm watching. So I'm really just trying to get a feel for the price action here, and what it may want to do on a small scale, not trying to outline a big enormous next run, because I don't think it's in the cards as it is for the next hour or two. 9:30 might bring some volatility, that's for sure, but until then it looks rather quiet. But if something, then those relatively close, that's what I'm looking for, potentially. So staying inside this range so far, this is the only inefficiency inside of this price swing from high to low. So if it didn't want to continue lower, it's reasonable to see it return back to it. And now, as we do, I want to see whether we can manage to go above it or not. By the way, taking the fact into consideration that these relative lows are just above the old low on the daily, makes it a very, very strong and solid magnet on price, in my opinion. So far tapped the low of this bearish fair value gap and rejected that. Still I want to see price close below this blue shaded box, which is a bullish fair value gap, and because I'm anticipating this as potential draw on liquidity, it would be very constructive if we could go below it on a closing basis and then use it as inversion to send it lower. Alright, another attempt trading into this bearish fair value gap here, also taking short-term high. Showing initial premium sensitivity. We rejected from around the consecutive encroachment and price aggressively responded lower. So far. But yet this range is too balanced, too how to say it, too tight in a sense to like trust that it will 100% sell off from here, because with the current sideways range like this, it's not that probable though. That's why I'm waiting for further informations, further signatures that would like work well with what I'm thinking. So yeah, so far not exploring above the upper half of this small little fair value gap is good, but we would need to reject it quickly. I like how price opened here, failed to touch the low and now selling off. So again, watching this inefficiency, whether we can close below it. Another inefficiency here. I would ideally like to see it act as institutional order for entry drill and not close the zine. That would be a good signature to see. Right, I would really like to see the next candle to just smash right through it and close below it. I don't want to see like much discount sensitivity around this fair value gap. And if we can close below it, it looks really promising to see a run into those relative equal lows slash old low here and explore some lower prices there. That would kind of make sense, I would say, but we'll see. We touched the low, but still close inside of it. Swept the sell-side liquidity here. Preferably it stays heavy. Preferably it could reach up into the high of this inefficiency. Maybe wick slightly above it, but close below 50%. That would be a good signature here. So we got the touch to the high and now like close below 50%, and then the next candle probably, or maybe roll over lower. Yeah, that would be ideal to now see it trade outside of it. All right, so far so good, I would say. So closure below this means that I don't want to see price trade back above it on a closing basis. So a touch to this is fine, but then I would like to see displacement away from it, and that displacement would be seen on the 5-second probably, if it's there. Alright, so the lower half of this inefficiency being respected with the bodies, that's what I want to see. This is the midline, middle line, and it's being respected clearly with the bodies. And now price moves lower aggressively, and I would like to see it stay like this, and no need to come back to this inversion for value gap anymore, and stretching towards the sell side would be ideal scenario. The displacement is seen on the 15-second chart, in my opinion, here. It traded to it for a institutional order for entry drill, lower half respected, and now it's running away quickly. So preferably it should just tap into the sell side liquidity, and yeah, I would consider that a very nice price delivery, very solid. So it should just like quickly overtake this sell side liquidity and dive below it, in my opinion. No reason for any retracements higher. It should be just heavy and quickly loaded lower. That's what I want to see, preferably. And exploring lower prices underneath those lows here. Alright, looks like some sort of a rejection here. It's kinda slightly closed above this little fair value gap here. Preferably it should just, you know, give up the ghost here and this be like a fake. That's what I want to see. I want to overlap that. But yeah, the line in the sand is this inversion for value gap. I don't want to see price trade above the middle line of that. If it does, then I will suspect that this was a measure of manipulation then, because this sell side is way too smooth. There are wicks on both those lows, so this is something that could happen because of those wicks, and if it happens, it's fine. but nonetheless, this fair value gap, this fair value gap, and the order block here. So these are basically the three PD arrays I don't want to like see being breached, right? So I believe the sell side is still valid and it's still in play as long as this last up close candle here is not violated. So far price traded up into the consecutive encroachment of this fair value gap here, reasonable, and now rejecting it strongly. So it should be like stretching below those lows and exploring sell side and into the old daily low again. That's the preferred outcome still. Crouching right above these lows, classic, before purging it quickly, I would say. And that's what I want to see happening soon. And that would be nice little DD here for the pre-market. So as long as this up close candle here is not being overtaken on a closing basis, I still want to see it roll over below those lows. Preferably without a deep retracements to the order block even at all, but nonetheless, if it wants to do so, it can, and still be technically valid for a run lower. Alright, so looks like potentially might be tapping into the low of this up close candle here, and I would like to see a immediate rejection afterwards. So consecutive encroachment of the fair value gap here was hit again, exploring higher, tapping into this candle's low, which is the change in the state of delivery, and if it's good, if it's going to run the sell side here, it should reject that quickly. Yeah, something to that effect, right? So I'm trying this 5-second fair value gap here as a last chance here to get towards the sell side liquidity here. My stop loss will be above this up close candle, as that's the last line of defense, I would say. Using this 5-second bearish fair value gap as means for entry. Preferably keep it heavy and just smash right through it, as we did already, in my opinion, enough work on the upside. In terms of premium, it doesn't really need to reach higher unless it wants to go higher. Return back to that 5-second fair value gap here. Preferably quick rejection. So far lower half being respected with the body, so that's good. I want to see that. This sell side is too clean and too obvious in my opinion, especially now as we are just hanging around, making those lows, relatively cool lows here too. Makes it a very, very, very juicy target / strong draw on liquidity. So the moment we will trade below those relatively cool lows, I will want to take a partial there and move my stop loss to even, and we'll see what we'll get. So I want to see price trade to and through it, slightly below initially. Then I'm going to close or take a partial below those lows and move my stop loss to break even. It touched the lows. I want to see it print below them. Alright, there we go. So that's where I'm taking 2 off, and I'm moving my stop loss to better than even. Alright. So now if it stops me out, I already took something, but at the same time, if it actually provides some more measure of deeper run lower, then I will be able to capture some lower prices, right? So let's move that there, and basically as we form this short-term swing low here, I want to see it being overtaken here. So I want to see exploration below those equal lows here. If price can provide that for me, then I'll be more comfortable holding this position for potential lower prices. Right, so I'm just, giving it time. I'm just chilling basically, because I already secured a partial and I'm already even on this trade. So if it goes and stops me out, that's fine. I will not mind that. But at the same time, if there is any chance to see it fall out of the bed, which in current environment could be reasonable to expect, right? Especially with the higher time frame bias lower. So if it wants to keep on going lower, then I'm very welcome, or I'm very, very pleased to squeeze that lemon as far as I can. But nonetheless, we'll see what we get. So this short-term low right here is the very key area where I want to see price trade through it and not reject higher. Also this old daily low, that's what I'm watching, whether price can relatively easily reach down into it. That would be also constructive though. But nonetheless, it's being a little bit slow in here and overlapping, which yeah, I don't like to see that generally. But yeah, let's give it some time. There we go, we got a nice displacement through this. I didn't quite was fast enough to take another partial here, but regardless, okay. It already came back all the way up, which by my liking that may want to go after me here, but let's see. This long discount week, that's what I'm watching now, and it would need to be overtaken quickly if it's actually going lower, which doesn't look like it. So yeah, if I would be faster, I would be capturing a partial below this low here as we were going into that old low, but I didn't manage to do so. Too fast of a blip. All right, and it took me out here. So fair enough, I guess. Fair enough. So yeah, we are also going into the 850 macro here, and the next important time factor will be the 9:30 opening. So I think unless we will start like losing ground and closing below this week's consecutive encroachment, we might get some like quiet price action here now. Who knows? Hello Money Glitch, by the way. I'm just looking at the chat right now as I was doing pure full focus on the chart. So yeah, this is how it is. But nonetheless, this whole business here, this whole fractal was really solid in terms of technicals and precision wise. It was offering reasonable price action to work with. Eventually at the end got a little bit sloppy and consolidated, but yeah, I guess we moved already a lot today. When we look at the daily candle here, we can see that yeah, it's a large down candle already, and already took those equal lows here, so it's reasonable for the price to get a little bit wonky at this time, especially before the 9:30, which will be the next really interesting session or time of the day. Because yeah, as for the pre-market, it was like rather small and tight and consolidated for the most part, not that much, but yet it was precise, so that's fine. But the 9:30 might have the volatility and large ranges potentially again, because if we open close to where we are right now, we will have enormous discount opening range gap, and with gaps like this, I wouldn't expect that we will feel the 50% of that opening range gap. I wouldn't think that it's like likely at all, and I would like expect a heavy continuation lower towards those daily old lows, and that's kind of something what I'm potentially expecting ahead of 9:30. So that's an idea, and yeah. So yeah, I guess the next 30 minutes will be a little bit more quiet, and then we will probably have some more action again. Until then, I don't want to make more of this than it really is. So yeah. Gotta basically wait and see. So basically, if you want, then like this is the time to prepare your snacks and water before the 9:30 opening, because that one might be busy. All right, so we can do the markups before the 9:30 as it is right now. So we'll go basically to the 7 a.m. and we will mark out this high as the pre-market. High, and the low is basically at the old low here, so I will not be annotating that because it will be too clustered, unless that's the low, and that's where the liquidity will be before the 9:30. So because we are bearish higher time frame, because it's likely going to be a large discount opening range gap, I would generally like to see this buy side pre-market high being engaged after 9:30 first, and then just fizzle out, and that would really enable a nice potential move lower. Market can reverse completely towards all-time high again from here. Market sentiments are shorts for long term on social media, like market consolidating too much on higher time frame. What can I say? I mean, of course, anything can happen as we are in this daily range, but truth to be told, the sell side here looks the most obvious, the most significant, the most reasonable to expect. So therefore, that's why I'm sticking with it. But I might be proven otherwise, right? I might be wrong. I might be proven otherwise, and if that's the case, I will I will be wrong, and yeah. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. So nonetheless, mm, we gotta wait until the 9:30, because right now I don't really see anything that I'm like interested in at this moment. And yeah, NFP will decide the future. Oh yeah, this is, by the way, the NFP week. True. But nonetheless, Tuesday is like a good day on NFP week to see things happening. One trade per week is very good. Yeah, sure. Sure, if you can finesse one very like proper trade per week, that's amazing, bro. That's all you need. You don't need anything more or else. Especially if we are on a or in a hard difficult range on the daily chart, then one trade per week is actually like the smartest way to approach that type of environment. Obviously, if we get uh, released outside of this range, we are likely to see like really nice easy days in terms of like uh, delivery, where they will just be, moving nicely, quickly, and directionally, and that will be cool to see. And then you can then still like one trade a week is still very good, but yeah, then you have probably like a little more opportunities, which regardless is good. But yeah, ever since here we are just hanging around doing nothing consolidating, uh, setting the liquidity for the pre-market session before the 9:30 open. And again, we close the previous day's settlement here, and we are here, which is, let me actually measure that, but that's over 500 handles of a potential discount opening range gap. And that's an enormous gap. That's an enormous, huge opening range gap. And these don't happen every day, obviously, but when they do, they have to be engaged slightly different. And usually, not always, but usually the protocol to approaching that type of opening range gap is to expect a likely continuation in the direction of the gap. Meaning, if this will be this large discount opening range gap, so gap lower, we will expect price to continue on going lower with the direction of the gap, not closing the gap, not expecting the 50%. Basically, we will expect as far as the lower quadrant, which also is not a must, but lower quadrant would be reasonable. So that will be my initial expectation going into the opening range. I want to see whether price will be able to reach towards the lower quadrant, and whether it will like offer premium sensitivity and reject that, or what we'll do from there. But nonetheless, that's as far as I would want to see in terms of trading into the opening range gap, and then I would expect just like losing the ground and just keep on going lower towards the daily objectives. And that's like, in theory it could happen, it might happen. That's what I'm initially expecting, but obviously time will tell and price will tell, because we already moved a lot, and that doesn't mean we can't move like further, because we can, especially as we have time to do so, because you know the market has not even opened yet. So that's good money glitch. That's reasonable. That's fair. Obviously, on the higher time frames, as you are saying, you will have less setups, especially in these daily high resistance type of consolidation, right? So that's reasonable. No, I actually don't look at gold pretty much at all, almost. I was watching it a little bit as it had this vertical rally that was interesting, but other than that, I'm not really interested. Right, so maybe I will suggest a 15-minute break, or like 10-minute break until the 9:30 open, and I'll be back for the opening range, and we'll see what we get there, as it might be a interesting or maybe even historical open with that enormous gap lower, which may lead to some market crash type of scenarios. Obviously that's ambitious to predict that, but shit can happen. So I think that will be fun. So yeah, let's say 15-minute break. Alright, yeah, there we go. I'm back right on time. Perfect. So again, we are going to witness a enormous discount opening range gap in a second. Let's clear this out. Okay. One minute left. Pre-market high, pre-market low. Just for the completeness sake, overlapping with the old daily low. Right. So this is the 9:30 open. RTH. So right away I want to do the measurement from the open to the previous day's settlement, and I want to see where the lower quadrant is and where the 50% is. Right. In terms of range, it's a 460 handles discount opening range gap. Therefore the pre-market high and the lower quadrant is my go-to expectation initially. Pre-market high already taken, relative equal lows, pre-market lows left intact. Taking in consideration that the low was taken overnight but not actually during regular trading hours, I'm still thinking that we may see a drop lower or continuation lower. That's my initial thought process. So I believe that's going to be true as long as we are not going to approach the 50%. And yeah, the delimiter is the lower quadrant. So I can take these off. Now it's very clean. So buy sell liquidity above the pre-market, stopped into it initially. Yet I want to see if it want to touch or trade towards the lower quadrant. There is also the new week opening up low for the current week in close proximity. So tapping up into it is in realm of reasonable still. But these lows here, very, very suspect. So my eye jumps there potentially. And now I want to study and judge whether it's actually likely or not, whether it's possible, whether it makes sense. there is this inefficiency here that I can note. It's not the first presented for value gap, but yet it's busy, which might give me some more insights about it. So basically the failure to reach the lower quadrant here of the opening range gap would be indicative for further weakness, further underlying weakness though. Alright, traded through this on a closing basis. So I would like to see it act as inversion. So the initial pump into the opening range gap took the pre-market buy sell liquidity, failed to reach to the lower quadrant of the opening range gap, and now rejected that strongly. So this inefficiency, I'm watching it closely, and seeing a displacement on 5-second chart or 15-second chart out of the lower half of it would be constructive for running the sell side here. Right, trading back above it, it's not a problem. It may want to see a higher high right here, which is reasonable because this is the highest point on the RTH perspective, right? So it's the first and one and only swing high on the or after the 930, which there will be buy side above it, so it's reasonable to poke above it. And with that said, we will see likely, if that stays open, first presentation here, potentially. I rather use this one than this small one. That's a matter of preference. Alright, so this is the first presented fair value gap for today. Taking this short-term buy side, and now I want to see how and if we can reach this lower quadrant of the opening range gap. There is a small little fair value gap right here. I will annotate that. We reached the lower quadrant, but we failed to close above it as it is right now. So technically, as for me, taking the buy side from pre-market, taking the buy side above the short-term high, reaching into the lower quadrant and not closing above it, in my opinion, it could sell off from here and just continue on going lower for the rest of the day, and that's something I would preferably want to see. Will that happen? That's we are going to witness, but that's an idea that I would preferably want to see unfold. Nonetheless, we traded through this survival gap here into the first presentation. Because the first presentation was a busy and my drawn liquidity is lower, I would like to see it act as inversion fair value gap. So I want to see it trade below it and then use it as resistance. I will add the middle line for a reference point, and preferably I would like to see it close below it and then use it as a means of premium to run lower. I don't know why, but it looks like my stream is losing frames, and it's probably due my internet connection, which suffers today for whatever reason. Nonetheless, I hope it will not die and I will keep on streaming here, this opening range. Let's see. So we traded outside of this first printed fair value gap. That's great to see. I'm still watching the lows right there. Right, perfect. So we see close below it, and now I want to see this act as resistance. So anytime we return back into this, the lower half should show premium sensitivity, and I want to see price roll over lower. So we are giving it a gentle touch. As long as no bodies are laid above the consecutive encroachment of this inversion fair value gap, which is the first presented fair value gap, I'm expecting expansion towards those relatively cool lows, and possibly continuation lower. So also that's important. I'm not only looking for those lows, but I'm looking for those lows and continuation. That's what I'm expecting. Sadly, I do have some connection issues, and for whatever reason my internet is slowing down or almost losing connection, which is pretty bad. I should probably restart the router, but yeah, the things are happening really fast in here, really quick. So yeah, I might as well need to end the stream too. Otherwise, I will just lose focus. But yeah, that is something outside of my capabilities. Yikes. Alright, so we see a return into this first presentation, and this is very important now because that's a nice large candle trading into it. If it's good, I want to see 5-second or 15-second displacement lower out of the lower half of this. It's not giving me that yet. We traded outside of it with a week. That's permissible as long as the bodies stay inside of it. Alright, so the body closed pretty much at the high. That's not ideal, but I'm still watching if this idea can be true. How I would re-engage that? I would like to see it close below it again and then repeat the protocol, meaning then again expect the lower half to show displacement. Right, so we are getting some extra manipulation here around the first presentation. We can see that through the lack of precision on the bodies. But it looks like the draw is still like too strong. Nonetheless, we opened on this candle below the first presented fry gap, traded up into it slightly and then rejected hard. I think that we made like enough work around it here, that if it's good, it could trade from where it is lower, and that would be reasonable. We don't necessarily need to return back into it deeply, but if we do, then I will demand respect in the lower half. Right, so that was like an immediate rebalancing here, immediately rebalancing this down candle. So if it's good to go, it should show displacement, but the problem is, so far after the or since the 9:30 we are just banging around a lot, and there is some measure of manipulation involved, which yeah makes this a little bit more tricky to engage. And I just demand certain signatures from price, and if I don't see them, I'm not doing anything. So return back into this first printed fair value gap. As I said, I want to see strict respect from the lower half in here. This is very important. Now it should really displace lower off of this lower half. Alright, another touch to the low of the first presentation. Still waiting for the displacement lower. So a lot of give and take, a lot of back and forth price action here. So far working with high resistance liquidity run conditions, which is somewhat difficult, but nonetheless I'm looking for this 950 to 1010 macro to provide some measure of run on those lows. So far it's really reluctant. It's really held in this small range. All of the candles are overlapping their ranges, which is really a measure of high resistance liquidity run condition, which is low probability by definition. And yeah, even though I like this as a draw, the way price delivers is somewhat difficult to engage. Nonetheless, as long as price stays below the lower half of this first presentation, my attention is down there. Alright, so it should pick up some speed below this low, preferably running the sell side aggressively, and then we'll see what we get afterwards. Still, this is the next draw liquidity on the downside, like the more prominent. But to ever consider that, we first of all need to show that it wants to go below those lows, because if it's reluctant to go below those, how is it going to go there, right? 10 a.m. news, I believe. Return back to the first presentation. It's looking heavy, but at the same time it's kind of like being held. So they are definitely making it slightly trickier, but nonetheless. First presentation was touched, but the body closed way below. So that's a sign of weakness to me. And the sell side here is way too obvious to like stay at this point. Very, very, very reluctant price action here. All right, so the sell side is still in the striking distance. They really are making this high resistance and difficult to reach there, but nonetheless it should smash through it. And if you can see that, I will be interested whether there is a potential for continuation lower. Any deeper retracements, which there is always a possibility, because it's high resistance, it can deny the targets and offer deep retracements. These relative equal highs, kind of too obvious. So if they want to manipulate it, one more time higher into those relative equal highs. That's possible, that's reasonable, that's what they can do. And yeah, we'll see. Right, looks like we are denying the target and running for those relative equal highs, just as I said. So if that would happen, I would be really interested in this really rolling over and smashing lower. This would be like the high resistance special delivery here. So far the RTH gap low is denying that, and price is basically being stuck in the small little range, which yeah, it's somewhat problematic. Basically still waiting for the potential run on those relative equal highs. Otherwise we are just stuck inside of this small little consolidation with lots of manipulation also on the table. Engineering leaving the sell side liquidity for now, but I believe this will be a strong draw on liquidity for the price nonetheless. The only issue I have right now is how I can frame a high probability low risk entry in all of this mess, right? and to see that potentially offering low risk entry would be sweeping above those highs first. That could give some reason for nice delivery lower, but yeah, otherwise we are just messing around here without much clarity, not even mentioning the precision, right? So this is all difficult, this is all high resistance, this is all going nowhere so far. And if it's like this, if it stays like this and it delivers the sell side, then there was really nothing for me to do here, and avoiding that was actually the best decision. But let's see, another attempt to reach above those equal highs here. Let's see how it goes. If we can tap above them and then start rejecting, I would be more confident that we may see a run lower out of this price action here. Otherwise, if it keeps on doing this, then I'm losing interest for the morning session. Alright, let's see. We are very close to those equal highs. Also, it's inside of the first presented fair value gap, so we would be coupling both worlds there. And assuming that's still the draw, but the delivery is just high resistance, then poking above those equal highs here would be quite beneficial to see price roll over lower. Lots of manipulation today, lots of manipulation. They really are strangling price. That's probably very good decision, money glitch. That's a very smart decision. Yeah, honestly, if it stays like this for like the next 10 minutes, I'm really losing interest in the morning session, and maybe lunch, maybe PM session might be better, but this is not something I want to touch if it's like this. So yeah, they are really like playing mind games with people here, and making it almost impossible to get a clear read. I'm still trusting that lower is the way to go. I still trust that this is the draw on liquidity, but just the way they are delivering that is very, very, very poor, or technically poor, which obviously it's not impossible, but yet it didn't offer what I was looking for personally. So basically, if it goes here and clears the sell side, that will be a moral victory, but there was really nothing high probability to engage on. Alright, tapping into the sell side shallowly. I would like to see it trade to and through, like deeper run. This is not enough in my opinion. And basically after this delivered here, with those high resistance liquidity run conditions, the next objective, or the next idea that I have in mind is here, the all daily low, right? And what I would like to see now, I would like to see price start losing ground here, meaning this fair value gap here that we left as we were leaving the range here, this should stay open in my opinion. If we come back to it or close above it, then for sure it's something I don't want to engage. But if this stays open, right, so that's preferably what I want to see. If this stays open and we see some measure of displacement below this low, then I would be willing to see a run towards the old daily low. But again, that's a little bit of signatures to be seen first. Exactly. The market was waiting for people like losing hope, and then eventually it moves, or starts to move at least. But again, because this whole opening range and the first minutes of the, or after 10 a.m. were really, really difficult, I'm cautious about this price action. I'm cautious in regard that this might turn into some really dirty price action, but nonetheless, the only thing that keeps me interested is displacement below lower, displacement below this low. Small little bearish fair value gap here. I want to measure how price will engage it. So we do have this low from the overnight session too. So I'm just noting that there is additional odd low sell-side liquidity, current daily low. Potential return to this fair value gap here, and what I want to see is resistance here. Alright, so it looks like it wasn't even able to trade up into it, which implies potential heaviness. And now tapping into the overnight low here with initial displacement. So yeah, overall it looks It looks pretty heavy though. And a continuation towards the old daily low is definitely in the cards, but nonetheless it has to offer strict responsiveness out of PD arrays, which in here it offered an immediate rebalance. I like to see that a lot, because that would be perfectly aligned with a large displacement now lower, which would lend very well with that old daily low. So this immediate rebalance also trades into this bearish order block. Also, after it failed to reach this fair value gap, everything lends very well with weakness. It looks like I'm losing internet connection again, which is very problematic here, and I'm lagging a lot. I tried to enter as we were here, but I got really lagged. But nonetheless, the idea is the market is heavy. The idea is that we got this immediate rebalance here, and that we have this all daily low for still potential large magnet on price, and stretching towards that would be in line with my expectations, but let's see. Right, so I really want to see speed and large candles lower like soon. After the immediate rebalance, it should like be stretching lower aggressively, and that's what I want to see. If we will hang around, just meander, consolidate, I will cut the bait, because then I don't like that. If it stops me out, then that's also fine, unless my stop loss covers 3 PD arrays, which is this immediate rebalance, order block, and the fair value gap. So if it takes all 3, then I'm probably wrong about it. Right, looks like it's going straight for my stop loss here. So after all of those three PDRAs being not respected like this, it's probably fair deal to get stopped and probably cut the bait, because yeah, if they are not offering a continuation lower from that here, then we might get back into this sloppy range again, which I'm not necessarily willing to go through probably. And yeah, so yeah, nonetheless, I think that's fair enough for today. mm, and yeah, I think that's going to be it for me. if it's not if it's not working or not doing what I was expecting to, then I guess there is no reason to keep uh, keep pushing. What I'm watching here right now, because that's like the last or most recent thing, is this little fair value gap here. That's a Bessie. And I'm thinking if we could close below it and inverse that inefficiency, and if yes, that would be like the last chance to see it displace lower. But yeah, it would need to offer like displacement off of that lower half. It looks like I'm losing connection again. Aye. All right, so I mean that's something I need to fix. I think so. Yeah, I'll be back tomorrow with more price action, and have have a nice day. Enjoy the rest of this afternoon, and hopefully we'll get nice price action tomorrow. So see you guys. Bye bye.